Welcome to my channel. I will wait for a few people to come into the room. I'm doing a mic check. It's working, coming in clear. Okay. Hey, okay, so it's coming in clear now. Okay, good. So today, hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. You have reached the Sovereign Circle with Aya. So today we are going to be talking about, of course, money and the stories that we've inherited about money. So we're going to be rewriting that inner story because not every belief that you inherited deserves to become your future. And before we try to change our financial future, we need to become aware of what we already believe about money, where those beliefs came from, and whether we still choose to carry them. All right. So let me see. Hey, peace. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for the gift. I appreciate it. Guys, if you do, I don't know how YouTube works right now. I'm going to figure that out later on how to send gifts, but you can always go to the abundancerecode.com, go to support the circle tab, and you can always change the donation to whatever you feel free. I appreciate all of your support. So welcome back. Today we're going to be starting month 2 of our journey, and this month is called Rewriting the Inner Story. Last month we spent a lot of time talking about receiving. We've talked about capacity, we talked about stewardship, we talked about becoming someone who can actually hold what we're asking for. Now, I want to go underneath that because we can't talk about receiving we we can talk about receiving money, and we can talk about making money. We could talk about keeping money, but there is another question that I want to ask, and that question is, what do you actually believe about money? Hey, Pablo. And even deeper than that, where did those beliefs come from? So if you want to drop a few comments, hey Kamario, if you want to drop a few comments in there about what you actually believe money is. Um, and I love that because then I can be able to interact, and then we can build and do, later we can do different lives that will solve different topics. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Niska. I appreciate that. So, um, here's something that I've been thinking about. So, we're going to go back to before you've ever earned your first dollar. Somebody already taught you what money meant, right? Think about that. Before you had a job, before you opened a bank account, before you even knew what rent is or even paid rent, before you had a credit card, before you knew what a credit score was, you were already learning about money from your environment. Maybe nobody sat you down and said, today we're going to teach you about money. Most learn by watching, you learn by listening, you learn by observing how the adults around you behave when the money came in and what happened when the money ran out. So some of those lessons may still be living inside of us today. So today's recode for that is, not every belief you inherited deserves to become your future. So I like to hear a couple of thoughts from you guys below in the comments. You could put one word, a few words on what did money sound like in your house. When you think back for a minute, what did it sound like growing up? Did you hear things like, we can't afford that, money don't grow on trees, you better save your money, You don't have to work hard. I've even heard some say that rich people are greedy. Money is just a piece of paper that elites created for nominees so they can fight each other nominees. Now, that's the first time I heard that one, Pablo, but I do thank you for that one. Um, yeah, I've heard a few things that sound like people with money think they're better than everybody. I hear that a lot. Don't tell anybody how much money you have. Family helps family. If you got it, you're supposed to give it. Maybe you've heard that. And maybe those weren't the words in your house. Nesca, I don't know what that one is, but I'm just gonna go ahead and keep on going. So maybe nobody was taught you those words in your house, or maybe nobody talked about money at all. That's also a message too. And sometimes the strongest lessons that we inherited weren't spoken to us. Maybe you watched adults argue about money. I know I've heard a few. Maybe money came in and disappeared immediately. Maybe the bills created tension. Maybe somebody controlled all the money. Peace Storm, thank you for joining. Maybe you've watched somebody work themselves exhausted and still struggle. I've seen that a lot. Or maybe somebody in your family got money and suddenly everybody needed something from them. So a lot of times we're learning these things that from the examples that money don't stay around, having money create problems. If I'm doing better than everybody else, I should feel guilty. You know, I've seen that a lot. Um, and I do want to be careful right there because it's not about blaming our families. Somebody may have been teaching you what they learned, and somebody taught them, and then somebody taught that person. Sometimes beliefs travel through families for generations without anybody stopping long enough to ask, is what I learned about money actually true? And that's what I want to do right here. We are going to stop to look and we're going to ask. There's a difference between what somebody said about money and what money eventually came to mean to you. So I want you to ask yourself, what did money mean in your childhood? We can go there. Was money safety? Was it conflict? Was it freedom? Was money power? Was it status? Was it something that you weren't supposed to talk about? Was money something that other people had? And by the way, I'm going over lessons that I've already discussed in my group sessions. I even have one on one sessions where I go into these lessons more deeply, and then we have, reflections about them. And these are the ones that I feel like I should be sharing. And I'll talk more about that at the end, where you can find that option and everything. Because yeah, I think these are really good topics. So, was money something? And this is a another question too. That's a really good question. Was money something you had to suffer to earn? All of those meanings matter because we can grow up, we can move away, start our own lives, get careers, start businesses, and still carry the old definitions of what money meant to us. Even though the circumstances have changed, sometimes the story doesn't. So the story that you can follow is you can make more money and still believe that there is never enough. you can finally have money sitting in your account and feel uncomfortable letting it stay there, or you don't even know what to do with it. You can earn good money and then still spend every dollar. You can want wealth and privately believe that wealthy people are bad. That's a big one. I and I'll go more into that, but this is not the podcast I'm going to do that on. You can want support and believe that needing help makes you weak. You can say that you want financial freedom while believing that if you become successful, everybody around you will expect something from you. That's why I don't want to just talk about what we want. I want us to examine what we believe, because sometimes those two things are fighting to each other, what we want versus what we believe. You understand? So I'll talk about my relationship with money and what I believe, because I had to look at this in my own life. Because there were times when I was making pretty good money, and then when I look back, I didn't have much to show for it. I was like, wait, what? I spent the money on, foolish things, malls, clothes, shoes, doing things for other people, helping people. And there's nothing wrong with helping people or enjoying your money. There's nothing wrong with buying yourself something, and there's nothing wrong with helping anyone, like I said. But eventually, I had to ask myself, where is all this going? Because I didn't see where it was. I was making the money, and if the money was flowing to me, but those are two completely different skills. Being making money and being a steward for money, two completely different. So that's something that we addressed lightly last week. But receiving something is one skill, keeping it is another skill, growing it is another. And I started realizing that some of the way that I handled money wasn't just about money itself. There were beliefs underneath it that I had. When I would, a few years ago, roughly like, no, it was probably very recent. I've recently received six figures, and before I've received them as well. And last week we've talked before about not having the capacity then that I had now, but there's another part of that story. So I trusted people, and I believed certain people wouldn't do certain things to me. And those experiences changed what money meant to me. It wasn't just dollars anymore, it became connected to trust, family. It became connected to loss, protection, and responsibility. And that's why when we talk about rewriting the beliefs or the stories that we've heard about money, I don't think the answer is always simply let's make more money, because I've seen people make more money, but that doesn't automatically change what money represents inside of you. Therefore, it's not going to reflect that as well. It's going to leave very quickly. Something may happen. So, you can ask. I didn't see that comment. Let me see. Let me see. Pablo said, never trust anybody if money is involved in it. I don't think that that's true. And I'll diverge a little bit. I don't think that that's all the way true. Um, Pablo, I believe that um, money only exposes your character. It only exposes who you are. So if you see somebody and they get a lot of money, and then you say, I can't trust anybody and things like that, it is because of the fact that mm, I feel like when you get more, like I said, it's going to expose you to yourself. You can either become that person that nobody can trust, or you're going to become a person who is trustworthy with money. There's always two different outcomes, and I never really believed that one-sided thing, even when saying that, wealthy people are ultimately bad. I don't even believe that that is all the way true, because there are good people with money. There are people who inherit things, and they want to give back to other people. So, um, though that may be true a lot of the time, I feel like money is going to expose who you know is going to expose your morals and your character. So, yeah. Um, Now I do want to go into a little bit more about childhood, but not as a victim or anything like that, because not every money belief comes from childhood. It can come from when you're adult too. Here's where I want to take the conversation to another deeper layer, is that not every belief we're carrying come from our parents or our childhood. Sometimes we adopt these beliefs later from relationships, communities, teachers, spiritual spaces, people that we admire, people that we trust. We will find it in books, cultures, and sometimes after seeing all this, then we become the person who repeats those beliefs, whether they are good or bad. Um, and that is one thing that I had to confront in myself, because there was a period in my life when I taught ideas that were against working for money. And just saw a comment in here. Storm said to me, money is convenient. It's better to have it or not to have it at all. Well, I feel like everybody got money, but I get what you're saying though. I adopted beliefs that made earning money, pursuing financial success, or participating in certain systems seems like something that we should reject. And today, I don't believe that anymore. And that's very important for me to say, not because I'm ashamed of myself, but because I've grown. I can look at something once and that I once believed and say that was my understanding then, this is my understanding now. And I think that reclaiming yourself includes giving yourself permission to do that. You don't have to spend the rest of your life defending the old version of yourself, and you don't have to continue to teach something simply because you once taught it. You can learn something, you can experience something, you can gain the wisdom, and then you can say that I changed my mind. So, money is a tool, and today I look at money differently. Money itself isn't evil, money itself doesn't have character. We do. Money can feed somebody, it can house somebody, it can educate somebody, build a business, create jobs, fund ideas, support communities. Money can give somebody opinions. And yes, money can also be used irresponsibly. It can be used to manipulate, money can be used to control, and it can be used harmfully. But money itself doesn't make that decision, a person did. That's why when I was saying earlier, money can expose who you are, and I was talking about character. Um, and just to clear it up, I'm not saying that having money automatically means that you have good character, and I'm not saying that if having money says something negative about your character. I'm saying that access to greater resources to our how we operate already, you can see those existing patterns, and it gives you more room. So it gives you more room to be yourself, who you are. So if you're struggling with people pleasing, more money may give you more opportunities to please people financially. If you struggle with ego, more money isn't necessarily going to remove your ego. If you don't have boundaries, having more resources may make boundaries even more important. But if you're developing disciplines, if you're developing discernment, generosity, responsibility, and wisdom, then having greater resources gives you more opportunity to exercise those qualities. So, money isn't the character. What you choose to do with money can reveal parts of your character. That's all I was saying. And that's different. So, you have to examine who you are with money. And maybe the only question isn't how much money do I want? Maybe another question is who am I with money? Who am I when I don't have enough? Who am I when I have extra? Who am I when somebody asks me for something? Who am I when I have to tell somebody, no, I don't have it? Who am I when nobody is watching what I spend? Who am I when the opportunity comes? Who am I when I'm scattered? Who am I when I have more than I ever had before? Now that is stewardship. If you're asking for wealth, because if I'm asking for wealth, I want wisdom too. If I'm asking for influence, I want character. If I'm asking for more opportunity, I want discernment. If I'm asking for more, I want to become capable of doing something meaningful with more money. And that takes us back to the question that I asked last week is how do I become someone who can keep what I'm asking for? So in my school, the Abundance Recode, I do daily reflections where I give exercises and we go over things together about what we feel abundance is, money, financial. We assess uh, the health of everything because abundance isn't only about more money or more finances, but about abundance in everything: health, wealth, your spirituality, your religion, whatever the case may be, is being more abundant in all of that. So we go over those things a lot. We just got out of the Lionsgate portal on 8/8, and today is the 10th. But on August 8th, you were supposed to write down a few things that you want to come more into. And then also the things that are stopping you in that moment from being that better version that you want yourself to be. And not only write those things down, but visualize yourself being that. And then I believe the next day was releasing anything, cleaning your house, um, and releasing anything that you don't need anymore so that you can make room for more to come in. Storm, I do like that comment, so I just paused to read it. I don't have to be rich as long as I have enough to do what I need to do and save some as well, then I'll be fine. And that's the story that we tell a lot of ourselves as well. Um, that I don't really want a lot of, I don't want to be rich. That's let me see. Yeah, that was a good comment. I like that. I'm not going to adjust it or anything. All right, guys. I think that I'm coming close to the end of my lesson. Um, to close out, I think I want to make sure that we always take accountability. And so this isn't about blaming where you came from. And before we close, I really want to make that clear, because when you're doing the work this week, it's not, let me figure out everything my parents did wrong. That's not the assignment. It's not, let me blame my childhood for everything that's happening in my finances today. No, don't do that. There are many things that influence our financial circumstances. And sometimes our beliefs, yes, but looking at only that is only one part of the picture. The inner story that we're asking is, what did I learn? What did I adopt? What did I teach? What have my experiences shown me about myself? What still supports me? And what, most importantly, what do I choose now? So, I do want to leave this with you today. Not every belief that you inherited deserves to become your future. Not every belief that you adopted later deserves your loyalty either. Some beliefs may have helped somebody survive. Some may have made sense during a particular season. Some may have taught you by people who that you genuinely believe they were helping. Some you may have believed once so strongly that you taught them to somebody else. I did that as well. But you are still allowed to grow. You're still allowed to examine what you believe. You're allowed to learn. You're allowed to say, I used to believe that, but I don't anymore. And that's not automatically a hypocrisy that sometimes, and I always have trouble saying that word. I was like, hypocrisy, hypocrite. So whatever. Sometimes that's growth. The goal isn't to shame the person that you used to be. The goal is to become conscious enough to choose what you do carry forward. Money is a tool. Your past is the information. Your beliefs can be examined, and your future doesn't have to be an unconscious repetition of your past. So, before we leave today, I think I'm at the 30 minute. Am I at 30 minutes? 28. It's fine. Before we leave, I want you to answer one question. Um, what's one belief about money that you're ready to question yourself? Just notice it, just ask the question, ask where did the beliefs come from, and that's enough for today. So before we rewrite the story, we have to become aware that we've been reading from a script about what we believe about money. So thank you for spending this time for me and listening this time with me. And take what supports you, move at your own pace, and remember, rooted in truth, rising in abundance together. Now, I do have a school on the Abundance Recode. You can go there if you want to have group reflections with me, also one on ones. And for everybody who wants to have some daily affirmations, you can go to the abundancerecode.com. That is where I put up daily reflections, affirmations, to recode and, you know, rewrite those stories that we've been telling ourselves about abundance or anything that is positive within our lives. There's also blogs. I'll be putting a lot more on there. So stay tuned. I'm going to be having a lot of updates coming soon. So thank you for spending a little bit of time with me here today. And until next time.